Hi all, Dr. Clark here again. Today I'm going to give an overview of lab number 2, or the Biodiversity Lab. Sometimes we refer to this as the Dichotomous Key Lab because that's what you're going to be doing in the majority of the lab. So when we start talking about lab and biology and the study of life and these kind of things, one of the main issues, one of the main challenges when it comes to studying living organisms is being able to group them, classify them, name them, and understand, what organism refers to, what organism. I mean, it's interesting for us to say, oh, we're talking about mammals, but what does it mean to be a mammal? What does it mean to be a fish? And then more specifically, what if we're talking about like humans? What does it mean to be Homo sapien? What does it mean to be a chimpanzee, pan-triglyceride? What does it mean to be a gorilla, gorilla? These situations, that's why we have classifications. That's why we have things called dichotomous keys, is so we can key out distinct features for individual species or genera or a family and on up the line. All the way to kingdoms, we know how we can distinguish between the animal kingdom and the plant kingdom and the protista and fungi, bacteria and archaea. We know these features and we could put those in a key and key organisms out. So that's really kind of what we're going to go through in this lab, is how are those keys designed. Okay, so the first part, if you're in a live lecture or have a live lab situation, then you're going to be able to do this. You're going to break out the class into different groups of students based on either the sex of the individual, the hair color, whether they have pierced ears or tattoos or height. These are just features that you might use to break individuals out and start this dichotomous key process. Okay, so here you can see kind of how a dichotomous key has been constructed. So I give you a few individuals' names and then their eye color and hair color, and then you can see I created this flow diagram down here to classify these individuals out. Okay, so any individual, you can take them from this list, okay, decide if they're male or female based on their name, which can be a little more difficult, I guess. But saying that you could distinguish them by their name as male or female, and then distinguish them based on eye color, distinguish them based on hair color, and that'll give you the individual's name. Okay. So this is a flow diagram. Okay. This is one way to present the data, but it's not the way that most dichotomous keys are presented. Most dichotomous keys are presented like this, meaning that you can take an individual and you can decide, are they male or female. If they're male, you would go to number 2. Do they have blue eyes or brown eyes? If they have blue eyes, you go to number 3. Do they have blonde hair or brown hair? Okay? And that would give you these individuals. If that individual had brown eyes, then you would be going to 4, and it'd give you one of these 2 individuals. This is a true dichotomous key. It gives you 2 choices along the way. Always just 2 choices. So let's say you have 3 different hair colors. Okay? Then here's your choice at this point. Like the ladies have 3 different hair colors, so blonde hair gives you Karen. Not blonde, you'd have to go to 7. Okay? Then you can separate it based on red hair or brown hair. Okay? And so that capability is you can have massive number of traits, but a dichotomous key, a good dichotomous key, will give you only 2 choices at a time. Now this might, having lots of the same trait, hair color, so you might have black hair, brown hair, blonde hair, red hair, white hair, on and on and on. If you have lots more different hair colors, that might extend your dichotomous key, and you might have a much longer dichotomous key, but you're only having 2 choices at a time. Okay? This final procedure is mainly for individuals who are in live lectures. However, depending on the course that you're taking, if you're taking this for credit, you may have to do a biodiversity collection, depending on the professor. And if they say so, there will be an extended video on how to do that. And I will give you an extended video on how to do both the collections that I require. Depends on when you take the course. Okay, I require either an insect collection or a plant collection, and I'll give you much more detail on how to accomplish both of these at a later date. Okay. So what are you going to do if you're turning this in for credit? Okay, first you're going to list some class traits. I'll give you a class. The video that's attached to this, so coming up, is a demonstration with data of some class traits. So you can just plug those in there. Okay, you can answer these 2 questions based on that, and then you create a dichotomous key for the class that's given. Okay, so next, the video that's coming right up, and it'll just transition into that video, will be me giving you the data needed to complete this lab. Hi all. Today will be kind of the first laboratory demonstration. This is the lab. Okay, so those of you who have not been to Western's labs, this is one of the labs, one of the bio labs. This is where kind of I'll be demonstrating a lot of the labs for you, and then some other places also. Okay, but today we're going to look at lab number 2. It's called the Biodiversity Lab. And in the Biodiversity Lab, we're going to concentrate on designing dichotomous keys. So often when we're dealing with species, we need a way to key them out. Okay? And later on, when we start dealing with small rodents and things like that, we'll need to be able to key them out to species, and we'll do so by looking at their teeth. But today, we're going to practice dichotomous key by looking at people traits, except for we don't have any people. As you can see, the lab is empty. Instead, I stole my daughter's dolls. So as you can see here, I stole 4 female dolls and 4 male dolls from her, and we're going to key them out. So remember, when you're working with a dichotomous key or keying out traits, traits need to be as permanent as possible. And so you really don't want to be keying things out by their clothing, because clothing can change, or their shoes, or their jewelry, or anything like that. When you're keying out human traits, you want to use permanent traits, or as permanent as possible. So like, hair color is a decent trait. It's okay. It can change, but it's normally semi-permanent. Okay. Eye color, same kind of deal. Height is probably the best trait, because after adulthood it's rarely changing. Weight's not a very good trait, but tattoos is a good trait. Whether or not you have piercings, that's kind of a good trait. So we're going to go through and we're going to look at these individuals and try to key them out. Okay, so first up is Karen. Karen has black hair and brown eyes. Okay, so fairly good traits to use. Megan's next. Megan has red hair and blue eyes. Okay. Kara. Okay, Kara has blue eyes and black hair. Okay. Jess has blue eyes, blonde hair, and pierced ears. So, so you're going to use these 2 traits to classify these 4 females. Next, the guys. So Dave. Dave has blue eyes, blonde hair. Jeff. Jeff has blue eyes and black hair. Mark.
Mark has white hair, but if you look at the hairline, he has dark hair, so brown or black, brown eyes, but he also has another feature that's kind of unique, and he has freckles. Okay? And Todd has black hair and brown eyes. Okay? So with that, you should be able to key out these dolls. So if you're live and you're taking lab from me, in the live situation you'll already key out your classmates, but in a online situation you can use these dolls to key out and work a dichotomous key. We'll be using dichotomous keys a lot in the future to key out plants, insects, small rodents, these kind of things, so get a good experience with constructing your own so that in the future you can work through them very easily. Okay, so next time we'll do some statistical analysis and keep working through the lab manual. Till next time.